I was listening to the story about, it was a story of a family in Washington, and the little boy called the Bigfoot the Cowboy Man. And he had, apparently it had made an effort to steal this kid. And it hit me. My children were in that playpen behind me with nothing but a mosquito net over them. It could have crept up behind me and taken both of my children, and I wouldn't have known.
Father just got like a Mustang or something from Wyoming, okay? He had it out in the corral because he couldn't put it in the barn in the stalls with the other horses because it would kick and made all the other horses nervous. Had a Seminole Indian working the horse trying to break it every day. So they had it out in the corral. This skunk ape snuck up behind this horse and grabbed it on its hind quarters. This particular horse kicks out, jumps over the corral, runs into the pasture, to get away. At this point, the rancher's out there just blasted away with the dirty. Skunk ape runs into the swamp.
I went up there one day after that, or 2 days after that. I went up there and sat in the silence up there, and I'm telling you, man, it was free. It was crazy. There was a crazy vibe up there still. I did what I could to kind of get things under control, but I told her, I said, you need to get off this property. I feel like no matter how strong you are, it's almost like standing in the ocean. You can't stand still without moving your feet. You're going to get knocked over eventually, no matter how strong, whatever. You can't withstand a barrage of weird spiritual energy.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Paranormal Odyssey on this Thursday afternoon. My name is Wayne, your host, joined as always by my good buddy, partner in crime, Miss Tiffany. How you doing, ma'am?
I'm doing good. Living it up on my pumpkin spice of life during this afternoon.
Yeah, we've had our pumpkin talk. You keep your pumpkin over there.
Well, you're a good, 5.5, 6 hour drive away from my pumpkins. So
we got pumpkins here. I just stay away from them.
Well, I'll take them off.
Normal people, I guess. How you doing today, ma'am? I'll leave you alone about your pumpkin.
I'm doing good.
Good deal. Good. Excited about the show today. We will get to Mr. Sheldon Norberg here in just a moment, as always. But before we do, let's get all this out of the way. Everybody, if you have not done so already, please do us a favor. Hit that subscribe button. We would greatly appreciate it. Share us. Tell your family, your friends, that what a wonderful show we have, and tell them to hit that subscribe button, please.
And then if you guys would like to be on the show with us, you can contact Wayne at paranormalworldproductions.com or myself at Tiffany@paranormalworldproductions.com. We would love to have you on and hear your spooky stories.
Guys, if you would, head over to paranormalworldproductions.com. Check out our website. Show some support, some love to all of our other shows in the studio. Brian has done an amazing job at building the studio, the name, the brand, Paranormal World Productions, Sasquatch Odyssey. This one, Paranormal Odyssey, Basement Hangouts, Kentucky X-Files. Yeah, guys, head over to the website there and show us some love. Pick up some merch. We would appreciate that.
And we love it when you ask questions, and we say it every week, twice a week. Please put them in all capital letters, however, because it just enables us to be able to get to them quickly.
Very, very good. Also, I want to ask everybody to head over to Manimal Research on Facebook, my organization that I founded back in 2019. We deal all about Bigfoot. Get out and do our field research, investigations, and all that good stuff. Everybody's got a Facebook. No sense in being ashamed of it. So if you're on Facebook, you might as well be a member of Manimal Research. So come over and check us out.
And again, we would ask that you go to Reaper Apparel. Any purchase made using the promo code Paranormal Odyssey will receive an extra 10% off their purchase. So now's the time to start getting Christmas out of the way, and this is a great online place to do that. So head over there and save you some money.
Yeah, guys, just to hit on the Reaper apparel stuff, I got my shirts in the mail. I don't know, I touched on it a couple days ago, but I just recently got them in, and it's really, really good quality. They're comfortable. They fit just like they should. Haven't washed them yet. Hadn't had a chance to wash it yet, so I don't know how much it's going to shrink or dry up, but I'm really happy with my t-shirts. I got a flannel on the way as well, and I'll let you guys know about that when it gets in. But something before we get going, something I wanted to touch on a little bit, guys. We talked about it a little bit yesterday. I don't know how well you guys can see that on the screen, but I want to talk about the memberships here at YouTube. That first one here, get to it. Yeah, it's Paranormal Odyssey Freak. It's just $1.99 a month, guys. Anybody can afford $1.99 a month. Tiffany and I were talking before coming out. You guys might not realize how much goes in to doing this show. I mean, we're doing 2 and now sometimes 3 a month. Not to mention my podcast that I do. A lot of time and work goes into this stuff, and we love our audience. You know, we have our regulars that are here on every episode. We love you guys. I mean, just a few of you. If you just join the $1.99 a month, like I said, it's not $2 a month ain't going to kill anybody. You get members only live chats, priority reply on comment. And what I think is cool and what we really want to do, what we're really going to enjoy doing, is members only 30-minute live with me and Tiffany. Not going to have any guests.
You're muffled, Wayne.
Can you hear me?
Yep, that's a lot better.
Okay, sorry. The members only 30-minute live with just Tiffany and myself. We're not going to have any guests on. We're just going to have members and just hang out for 30 minutes or an hour if we go over, just whatever. But I'm excited about that, and I really hope that you guys, especially our regulars, will take advantage of that, because I think it would be cool to just have a place where just our diehard core fans come and hang out with just me and Tiffany, and we just shoot the breeze for 30 minutes or an hour. So, guys, I hope that you'll at least take advantage of that. I don't care about the other towers, tiers, or whatever. I just did that because that's what they recommended. I was telling Tiffany before that I might just take it down and just do one tier for $1.99 and give you guys just a bunch of extra stuff, just to I don't know. I'm going to shut up about it because I don't like asking for money, but it would help us out, guys. It really would, and I would greatly, greatly appreciate it.
It really would, yes. And if you feel like being a super freak, I mean, hey, you can be super freak.
Yeah, be a super freak if you want. If you're rich, I guess, at $10 a month nowadays. All right.
2 Starbucks coffees, $10 a month.
Shit, that's 1 Starbucks coffee. What are you talking about?
I know.
That's a down payment on a Starbucks coffee.
I know.
You brought something to my attention before coming on today. I had not heard of this. You sent me some pictures, and we were talking to our guest, Sheldon, about it, and he was a little apprehensive about it as well, but I don't know. I'm going to pop this up here, and you tell us what you found out about these things.
Okay. So within I don't know, I started jotting down these chicken scratch notes at 1:05. And so these, if you are on TikTok, if you are on Facebook, if you are on the internet at all, you have seen these pictures. These were brought forth in Mexico in front of the Congress. These were actually, from what I could find when I was researching, these were actually found in 2017 by a ufologist by the name of Jamie, I cannot pronounce his name, so I'm going to try my best. Musan, I think is how you say it. Tests have been run on these findings here, for lack of better terms, by a Mexican naval surgeon by the name of Dr. Jose Zauce. He found that 70% of the DNA was known, 30% of the DNA was unknown. but claim to have lived alongside humans years ago. NASA put out a speech about it. I did not watch the whole thing. I caught clips here, but Bill Nelson, one of the administrators, there wasn't really anything said specifically about these, but his belief is, of course, that there is life on other planets. The ufologist who found these had also brought something forth in 2015, which would probably, knock down his credibility, because he was saying that this too was an alien, a mummified alien, and it was actually found to be that of a child with a deformity of their head. But if you look at these pictures that Wayne is showing, I mean, it's 3 fingers, the skull shape, the thinness of the body. And then there's another one where they actually did an X-ray of this. And it shows, if you look at it here, it shows, let me see if I can get it up there.
Yes.
Yeah, there it is. Something like 3 eggs inside of it. But it looks to have like the normal, like you would expect to see in an X-ray, right? Like the bones. It's very bizarre.
Yeah, I don't know what to make of that. I mean, so much false stuff going around nowadays that you can't be sure about any of it. But I mean, the Mexican government was commenting on it, right?
Yeah, it was brought forth to the Mexican Congress.
Yeah.
So
I don't know.
I don't know. And
I thought it was interesting.
It's interesting. It's interesting. It definitely makes you say, but like I said to you before the show, is you're going to have 2 camps. Yeah, this is real. No, this is not real. Yeah. Which in our world is very common.
We'll keep an eye on it. And as always, guys, if y'all know anyone out there knows anything, we would love to hear what you had to say about it. If y'all can add anything to it, we would love to maybe have you on and share what you know, but at least get it out there. We'll get talking for sure.
About it. It's trending.
Right. All right. We have spent too much time already, so we don't want to take any more time away from our guest. Mr. Sheldon Norberg is the author of the book Healing Houses, and we're going to have him come on and tell you a little bit about what all that entails. So if you're ready, we're going to go ahead and bring him out.
Yeah, let's get him.
Sheldon, what's up, buddy?
Hey, good morning. Here I am in front of the Mexican Congress. Wait, I only have 3 fingers.
Yeah, we're the
right?
Yeah.
That's all right. That's how I got into all this. I was just watching too much Star Trek.
You are currently in California, correct?
Yep. Yeah, it's been my home for almost all of my 60 years.
All right, very cool, very cool. You sent me a copy of your book, Healing Houses, and the Audible version. That most people know on here that I love Audible. That's all. I either listen to podcasts or books on radio, I guess. And I really enjoyed it. I did, and I wanted to have you on to come on and talk about it. Before you start getting into the book and like what all went into it, would you tell a little bit about what you do and how long you've had this ability?
I clean houses of energetic debris. One of my friends who read my book and reviewed it originally in its print form came up with the term paranormal remediator, which I really like because, everybody kind of the off the cuff response is Ghostbuster, which is a term I hate. Didn't really like that movie of those guys' work. And, I'm not out. It's once you kind of cross this line into what kind of work you're doing, you're not busting anybody. I hate that term because, what I find is that primarily people if we think of people, human beings, and all, living things as resonating energy, intaking energy, sunlight, whatever, magnetic, spectral energy, outputting energy as neuroelectrical field beings, then we leave, we are in communication energetically with people. And I find that, really intense emotional or event energies leave marks. And in places where, I began working, people left a lot of energy remnants and stains and impossible marks or presences based on the things that happened to them in their lives. Or, and you kind of walk into a house that has a long history, any place that people have lived, died, had intense things happen, there's kind of a feeling left behind. And when I started getting called into this, I was in a training. I had started doing a meditation training and a psychic awareness development class. I was in that class for years and graduated and worked as a TA. And someone in my class had a house that had kind of strange feel to her. And everybody in the class always sort of remarked that she had this presence that followed her around. And so she asked everybody in the class to come over to her house one night and check it out because she felt that there was something weird going on in her house. And we had a really kind of tight class. We met outside of class for a healing session every week. And that night I went over to her house. I was really excited because, as I said, I was watching Star Trek and In Search Of and reading, looking at Bigfoot and aliens and Thor Heyerdahl and von Daniken and, all that kind of stuff when I was a kid, and had a lot of experiences that made me question the Newtonian model or the kind of strict consciousness models, material, local consciousness models, before I really had those terms or understood field consciousness or anything like that. And when we went over to this house and nobody showed up, we always had at least 8 people, 12 people meet on our extra night every week, and nobody showed up but me. And I went through this house that had a really weird hot history. It was built for this woman who lived there her entire life, and when she died, it just became a rental. And this guy was murdered there, and there was weird dealings going on there, and but I'd say primarily the thing that was most striking was that my friend told me that when she moved in, she tried to set up the house. It was in the fall, and she set up the house in the winter for Christmas, and she put everything the way she wanted it, just like she wanted it, and it felt really uncomfortable to her, and she couldn't understand it. And she moved everything away around, moved her whole living room around, moved the tree somewhere else, and until it felt right. It felt right. And she said she didn't like it, but it felt correct. And she said that's the way she set it up. And it's I don't know if it was that year or maybe the next year. It was probably that year. Afterward, she gets a knock at the door, and this old woman shows up. And it's the younger sister of the woman whose house this was, who had a house up the hill. She's like, "Oh my, you've set the house up the same way my sister had it for 50 years. And she comes back over with pictures of, here's our house in 1947 and 53, wow. All the Christmas pictures. That's exactly the way that she had laid it out. You're like, well, that's weird. That is weird. Yeah. So we sat and went in different rooms and meditated and kind of did our energy clearing stuff. And, at the end of that night, she said her house kind of felt much better, and she felt more like she was present to it, more like she owned it and it was her space. And I kind of started doing, and so I sort of stumbled into that door from that, and began noticing, things I had never noticed before, noticing how places felt to me. And when my friends began working, she rented an office from a therapist, and I began doing, I was also doing Chinese medicine stuff. I started doing body work there. And my friend remarked to me that her space always felt really good after I worked there. And I said, well, that's because I clean it. Because I know that this energetic body work I'm doing, my clients are dumping a lot of emotional stuff. So I'm trying to do specific cleansing practices when I'm done, because I don't want to leave this imprint on my friend's office. And she was like, whoa. So I started kind of cleaning other people's offices and looking, at therapy offices. You're in somebody's therapy office and everybody comes in and cries or yells or is angry or fighting or exhausted or whatever for an hour. And then the next person comes in. And so, over time, that office starts to feel really crappy if you're not, saging, burning incense, discharging, doing a practice to kind of purify and cleanse. Then you've created a space where everything is, just lining the room with negatively charged energy.
Right. Well, and seeing, I was a housekeeper for 8 years, going on about 8 years, 8 or 9 years. So I've been in a plethora of homes. And you can, and I wasn't in this, what I'm doing now. And, I was just a housekeeper, but you can definitely feel going into each house, they all feel different with their sense. Some are heavier, some are just, normal. But yeah, you can definitely tell going into a house.
Yeah, there's a story in my book about maids, the maids of in this house that I worked on. Very wealthy couple bought this house in Florida. It had been the house of the the original house of the original mayor of Coconut Grove. It's a pretty nice house.
I would say.
It had maids' quarters in the back area, and the couple that moved in brought their this woman, Cuban woman. She's a good, wealthy businesswoman. Her husband is a very wealthy businessman, and they brought their family maids, these two Cuban women, with them, cook and a maid. And there was enough room in the house that they gave them rooms in the downstairs of the house, because they built out this incredible upstairs, extended suite for them. It was like a whole apartment for them upstairs on top of this mansion. And maids refused to live inside the house, and they moved back into the maids' quarters in the back, and the old little rooms back there. And the owners were like, what the hell, we like you, we love you, you're our family, we want you in the house. And I'm like, no, there's this spirit here, and we don't want to be in the house where the spirit is. And they're like, oh, this is crazy bullshit, we don't believe this. And maids were like, nope, this spirit shows up, and it comes in night, and it comes in the kitchen, and it, it's like bugging us. And they're like, oh geez, I guess, okay, we got to put up with this. And then their daughter moved into, when they got their master suite done, the daughter moved into the original master suite, and she ran into this thing at 4 a.m, this glowing figure tapping on her, and freaked her out. And they were like, oh, okay, well, maybe something is weird here. And they called me, and I cleaned their house. I had a long conversation, what I could in my broken Spanish with these maids. And they're like, yes, it seems like this woman comes in and she's always watching us work, or kind of like she would be policing us or something. And the way the daughter had described it, it was like it's the same person they were seeing. And I intuited that this was the woman, the wife of the mayor, who was overseeing this house for so many years, and wanted everything to be just this way. And it was very interesting, because afterward I got the most amazing letter from my clients. Like, everything completely changed, and the maids were like, talk to me at the end. God, it feels totally different in here, and this is great. And my client wrote me and said that before they moved into the house, he had dreams that there was a secret attic level in the house that was full of ghosts. And when they moved in and started the construction, she used to have these really weird dreams that there was endless rooms in the house and people living there. And she just, was like, oh, okay, these dreams, I'm not gonna, okay, and it took till after I was done that she remembered that she had this whole series of dreams that were informing her exactly of what was going on, but that she didn't pay attention to, and didn't, equate to what was going on around, because who would do that?
This Hispanic family, the help, they were actually seeing this presence, right? They weren't feeling it; they were seeing this woman.
Yeah, at night. Yeah, and just feeling it. And this, and when the daughter reported that, they're like, and the daughter said she looked like she had like so a shimmering thing around her neck, and the maids are like, yes, she wears a shawl. It's like, oh, right. And I'd really like to go back and review pictures in some old newspapers or something, and see who this woman was, and kind of match it up.
Have you ever done that before?
There's like
that
this
might
whole
be
level
to add to your clients to kind of validate,
Yeah, my work is my work, and the whole kind of detective end of it, I don't really engage in, because and this whole thing with the ghost hunting and detective thing kind of came up, and I'm less interested and engaged in that whole end of it. I'm very certain that all of these things are going on, and I'm very certain that my clients are having these experiences, even though they don't understand them or know how to explain them or relate to them. And my job is to fix them.
Yeah.
I like my work as a fixer. I feel like I away from a job, and I feel like I've done something.
Yeah. Now, can you tell us a little bit? I'm sure every house is different. You have to do something different at each house. But when you say clean a house, obviously people think of like what Tiffany did, like as a maid. But that's not the kind of cleaning you're talking about. So when you go in to do your job, how do you go about cleaning a house?
Well, I trained as a clairvoyant healer, as an energy healer. So you learn how to work with yourself and other people first. And you have kind of the Vedic map of chakras and aura, and the kind of different energy levels that people are working with. And you get used to a system of how you look at somebody's energy, and where you see it blocked or connected to something that's not benefiting them, or not connected to the ground. So you work with grounding energy, universal energies, personal physical energies, emotional states, which I also kind of use in hypnotherapy practice to help the person understand the feeling in their body or the feeling of the connectivity that they have to something that is working or not working for them, and to vibrate that out, to refill that with something positive, and to reconnect to what's good for them. And working on houses or spaces, I was completely in the dark when I started. It was just a stumble in. As I said, I went to Sue's house and I stumbled into this weird door. It was kind of a dream come true for me. So I decided that I would start mapping, what is the energetic map of the house. And you can see on my website, I'm not sure if I sent you my energetic house
No, you didn't.
diagram. But I feel like I did a pretty good job there, at least of all of the kind of different energies that are coming at a house. What's the land? What's the history of the land? What's the history of the people who were there? Was it, is this house built in a place that's really not very well suited for a house, where the feng shui is not good, the dynamics of the land are not good? I've worked in houses that are, built right next to a creek and they just feel like they're going to wash away, or on a steep hillside and they just feel like they're hanging out in the air and you can't quite feel comfortable. There's a lot of kind of dynamics to the building that just give you a sense of connection or disconnection to the earth. And your magnetic connection to the earth is just prime essence of feeling comfortable in your body. So that's the first thing I look at, is what is the connectivity to the earth in a house, and how is that blocked or challenged. And from there, sort of go into what are the layers of the structure. Is there anything external that's invasive in the house? What's the state of the kind of bubble, the aura, the protective layer of the house? Are there neighbors just coming in and out? Is there something affecting you from the outside that's kind of penetrating your bubble? And I have my own sort of internal conversation with the house. And it's really weird. I just met somebody last month since I put out my book who told me that she just has these conversations with houses randomly, and feels like those houses are talking to her. And it's like, oh, right, great, because that sounds like, because I'm kind of, I describe myself as sort of insensitive. I'm an insensitive psychic, that I really, have to do my work to listen up and pay attention to what's going on in there. Where she's just kind of getting this free flow of information. But I look at what has been the agreement with this house over time. The first family moved in and, dad got cancer and died, and something, another person kind of carried on for years. And that becomes the imprint for this structure. And much like that way the woman set up her Christmas layout, that's what the house expects its engagement with humans to be like. And so the next people come in and they feel more comfortable if one of them gets really sick and dies. They're just sort of following this pattern that over time becomes fixed. And I found this odd. Not only do people feel really uncomfortable in houses that have had a violent death or really a long illness and not want to be in the main bedroom where that person sat being sick and dying for a long time, But in houses where people got divorced, like the new couple comes in and then they wind up in the same relationship and the same battle and the same husband had it off with the wife's best friend in their bed in the same bedroom, like to again, like the next couple and the next couple. And you're like, oh, interesting how this pattern is fixed. And everybody looks at the house and kind of moves into this pattern. It's a little harder on you when you move into a house where people got really sick and died. And if you feel that feeling, people tend to not want to use that room, which is a real indicator to me, and a real super indicator of how hard people try to rationalize away the presence of the energetic side of things. Because I get, I'd be in these arguments with people who are telling me I'm crazy and this is bullshit. And I had this client, I did a couple jobs for this client. I worked on her house and we had dinner. She invited her neighbor up for dinner, and her neighbor took us over to her house. And she's like, "You people are crazy, whatever. I'll show you my new house." And $1 million house in San Francisco, back when that was, an expensive house. And shows me the master bedroom. She's been there at least for 6 months. Master bedroom's completely full of boxes that are not unpacked. And she's living in another bedroom. And we knew that the guy who had lived in that house previously had committed suicide. I said, well, why aren't you using this master bedroom? And she said, well, I slept in here, in the first, couple of weeks, but I didn't feel right. I felt weird in here. I had weird dreams, and so I moved in the other room. I said, okay, you're telling me that I'm a crazy weirdo because I do this weird thing and believe this weird crap. And you have a $250,000 storage locker.
Right.
Who is the crazy person here?
Right.
So,
yeah, we got a couple questions here that's coming from the audience. Carson asks, do you pass spirits over? We talk to a lot of psychics that's something they do. Do you do anything like that?
when you're in a place that somebody's sort of trapped between worlds, or it's a kind of odd framing for me. I feel that in places that really have a presence that appears and people get it, that it's some sort of tailing of the person's deep commitment to continuing in the place they were, or fear of moving along the path out of this body. So yeah, that's definitely a thing that you in my job that you wind up dealing with. And
Okay.
I was kind of young and brusque when I started this, and would really, in my first couple of jobs, that I came up against things that were harsh deaths that left real unpleasant remnant, just kind of burning that out. And over time became much more compassionately observant and connected to, trying to communicate with whatever these spirits were and achieve, or engage them in the process of departing beneficially with some understanding that can't really function in this dimension.
Yeah, and Carson follow this that question up with this one. I think this is a great question. He says, he asks, is there a different process you follow for residual or intelligent spirit?
I have a distinct series of steps that I go through that I've developed over time, and that because it's always been a bit of a question when I walk into a job, what I'm walking into, that I have kind of created this process. But what I run into can be completely, is often not what I'm expecting, and something at this point possibly that I've run into, but so many times I've just had to, on the spur of the moment, figure out what is going on and change up my whole approach to it and invent tools on the fly to meet whatever the energy is at the level that it's coming, and engage in a intuitive process to determine what it needs and what the space needs to resolve that energy. So yeah, I am going in whatever direction I need to get the job done.
Have you ever had a house that it was just a complicated, complex, that you had to go back several, more than once to clear it out, so to speak?
No, and the reason is that one of the reasons I kind of shied away from working with clients for a long time is because I didn't want to, develop long-term relationships that are based on me healing someone. And with a house, I felt like, certainly in the beginning, where it's like, I'm just going to blast this place. I'm a dude, like, I'm just going to blow this out and get this job done. You're going to take it like a construction project, like a carpentry project. I'm going to get this done, and I'm going to get to a place where I'm done in 4, 5, 6, sometimes longer, or, if I'm sent into some kind of estate. I've been on jobs, I'm sleeping over. I've done high rise. I've done, commercial buildings. I'm like, I'm going to be staying here the entire weekend until I get it down to the place that I have a 0-point consciousness and a full feeling that I've reset everything. And I don't like to leave before I have that feeling. Now, that said, on occasion, I leave something undone, and I'm always, immediately following up with my client the next day or a couple of days, like, how are things going? And I remember this one house, it's not in the book. I did this house, and what's going on with that job? Somebody had died there. There was no, weird things going on in this house, and I did a healing on it and completely reset the house. And one of the things I do is, like, I want to know who all lives in this house. I need to know everybody that's in the house so that I can reset the house. When I reset the house, that I'm aligning all of these people's access and connection to the house so they feel normal. Not like they're, not like you're just walking into some weird space now that it's clean. So you walk in because you walk into your home. My adjustments are to attune it to the people to my clients, and to how they want the house to feel. And I get a call from my client like a day later or something. She's like, I don't know if this has anything to do, but my cat won't leave the house. My cat's stuck in the downstairs room, and it won't leave, and it's crying. And I was like, oh crap. I didn't even think about this. There was something weird about that room. I can't quite remember what it was, but when I grounded the house and reset it, I did this adjustment, and it appeared to me that the cat could no longer tell where its door was. I think I did something to kind of shift the angle of the way the house was laid out energetically, and the cat just did not feel like it knew where it was. And so I, talked to the cat, straighten that out, go to the door, cat door, and it was fine.
That's wild.
It was really weird, and that clued me right into so now when you fill out my form, it's like, what are your pets? I need to know the dog. I need to know the animals and deal with the animals on another level. It's just another level in my checklist of things that I have to be aware of. And another one of the like real primary houses that I dealt with when I started doing this professionally. And I think there's a video on my website from the interview with that woman, that her dog just absolutely refused to go into her childhood home after her mother died. Wasn't a big fan of her mother, but when her mother died and like left this super intense presence in that house, dog just refused, just would not go in the house. And after I hit the house, dog trots in the house, goes down a couple of flights, and lays down in the living room and goes to sleep while we're sitting there talking. And my friend, my client, was just like, whoa, that's real. Like, so I don't know what you did here, but if the dog can just come in and go to sleep, there's something different. And
yeah, because you figure animals come across with their own energies, cats, dogs alike, and they can sense other energies and pick up on things that humans may not. So that makes sense.
Yeah, that's and I tell my clients, we are used to, in our culture, we are used to eliminating, blindering all of our perception into our tunnel. And your children and pets are not. And really pay attention when your kids are telling you there's something weird going on. You're just like, oh, there's something going on, honey, blah, blah, blah. Until you really figure it out, pay attention to that. If your dog's sitting there barking at something that doesn't exist, it's something you're not seeing.
Right. Yeah. They'll pick up on it before we do. And they'll let you know.
We talk about that stuff all the time on this show, just like personal stuff for me, especially Tiffany with her grandkids. But I do want to ask you this question from Carson. Do you cleanse houses and owners or just the houses?
It's a pretty, I work with people in my job. When people hire me to do their house, I'm there to do their house. If I get information that feeds back to about the owner, that I need to tell them about what they're driving into the situation, I try to address that as well. But it's usually, if it's enough, my work is cut out for me just dealing with a house on a particular day. But I certainly follow up with my clients, and sometimes that leads to doing client work with them as well.
Yeah. I want to go back a little bit. You talked about dealing with houses where people that lived there before had passed. My mother passed in 2014, and I was going to purchase that house from my dad. My dad lived there for a little while afterward, obviously, and then 3 years later, he met my now stepmom, and they got married, moved in, and I was going to buy that house, and I actually lived there for a little while, and ended up having the same master bedroom, obviously, where she passed. I was one of my dad and I were actually there that morning. Dad slept in the bed with her when she had passed and didn't realize it. And he called me. I lived just up the road to come down and like help and everything. So I actually picked her up and moved her to the floor to do CPR, and just a lot of strained energy and stuff going on. But I lived there for a couple of years, and I almost purchased the house. And I always said I didn't like going to the cemetery to see my mom. Even to this day, I didn't feel close to her. What I would do is I'd like to go and just sit on the edge of the bed where she was, and I felt her. It's weird. I've never really understood, but that's where I felt close to my mom. And my mom and I had an amazing relationship. She was my best friend. But in that room that she passed, where this terrible thing happened that I saw with my eyes, a terrible thing, a loved one, someone you love that much being gone. But that's where I felt close, and I never understood why.
Well, I talk about that a lot in that, everybody says, well, there's the law that you have to tell people if there's a death in the home, and so nobody, and the realtor's like, well, they were actually on the front porch, or they were gone to the hospital. Everybody gets taken to the hospital, but the my brother died in this house, and we moved him out of the bedroom to the living room, thinking it would be more comfortable for him. My other brother was like, okay, we'll take care of this. And, and I don't know how you're in the moment and whatever. He was like, well, why did I do this? Because it was obvious that he just wanted to be in his bed. And everybody who gets taken to the hospital would rather be in their bed. And some people, in any situation, you're like, if you're a ball of energy and anything happens to you out in the world and you're like popped out of, your body, where would you want to be? What is your deepest connection? It's like, you want to be home with your family in the place that you feel most comfortable. And that is people's bedroom. So that, it becomes the, in my work is 90%, I work all the way around the house. I do all, the stuff I do before I go into the bedroom where somebody died, is that is where the energy is. People like, that's where you spend, a third of your life or more. That's where you do all your dreaming. That's where you have, and, particularly in places where people have a long-term illness and they sit there rewinding their life or suffering and just sitting in pain. People who have cancer and are sitting and laying in bed in pain for months or longer. People who have brutal emotional interfaces, divorce or whatever, you're spending all this time in your room crying. And in a situation like yours where, somebody is positively engaged and you feel that sense of connection in that space, that becomes your point of connection to someone. And they're not in a graveyard. They're going to be connected to you. They're connected to you in your home, in your heart. That dead person never goes to visit their grave when they were living. They don't have no attachment to that space or to that headstone or anything. That's all after the fact.
Yeah.
So the energy of their life is focused in, where the energy of their life was. Maybe for some people, it's in their car.
Right.
Got this hot rod. That's my thing.
One of the things that I remember most about your book that stuck out to me was, one of the reasons that stuck out to me is we've talked about it several times on this show, was some of the guess ghost hunters, paranormal investigators, was people talking about smells being in certain houses. Like, people don't smoke, but in this one room there's this cigarette smoke smell or an old lady perfume in a certain room. What's up with that?
That is, well, thank you. That's kind of one of the most interesting things I came across in my work, was getting called by this woman who had an apartment where she would wake up every morning at 3 a.m. to, one, feel like she was being watched, but more importantly, that it smelled like somebody was smoking cigarettes in her apartment, or like there was an ashtray of cigarettes in her living room. And she'd get up and go out and look in the hallway of the apartment complex and look around. There's never anybody there. And her boyfriend or fiance was going to move in with her, and he would experience the same thing. And they were like, what is going on here? And what appeared to me is that the guy who had lived in their apartment for 20 something years before them had been a chain smoker, possibly alcoholic, who was just passing out in his chair in the living room watching TV every night, smoking a cigarette, and kind of leading a nowhere life, and just left that imprint and didn't, obviously, didn't have a very good spiritual grounding or presence of mind when he died, and wanted to just stay in stasis in that behavioral mode. And so as night approaches, as the veil weakens or whatever, that's where he goes. He keeps appearing there and doing what he does. And I read a really interesting, and so I'm looking at everything as an energy map, as if somebody's pushing conscious energy at a focus point. So, from life, whether you focused so much energy purposely or accidentally on a specific target, or if you can, from whatever your position is after you're dead, however that imprint is set, it's holding that energy signature. And my addendum to that chapter is a reading about the guy who's like the world master perfumer, and talking about how he's discovered that the receptors of the olfactory bulb do not use the neurochemical kind of receptor pattern that we've come to expect of this kind of key lock imprint, where a neurochemical kind of matches the receptor point and they go together, but that it's affected by vibration rate, and that the molecular spin of scent molecules is signaling the olfactory sense. So my feeling is that if people are projecting themselves, or the consciousness has projected an energy pattern that's got a vibrational wave to it, that is more capable of reproducing the smell of that person or event than we would normally imagine possible. And yeah, that kind of old lady smell thing that the old lady ghosts kind of have, and I've run into a few of those. Probably less so in the last couple of decades, but that does seem to be another kind of quizzical thing that appears in this work.
All right, Sheldon, take a couple minutes here. We're getting here at the end. Tell everybody where they can find you, where they can pick up your book and your website and all that good stuff if someone wanted to get a hold of you.
I'm at healinghouses.com, which it's the name of my book. It's been there. So I built that website around my book some time ago. The print book's been out about 10 years, but I just recorded that as an audio book, which is on Audible, but you can find the link through Healing Houses. There's a drop-down menu to look at the books. There's several chapters of the book that you can listen to check it out on a blog page on my website, healinghouses.com. And there's a lot of information about what I do and how I've kind of developed my work, and also my energetic maps of houses, just to help people understand what they're dealing with, and information for realtors. I've been trying to push myself out into the realty community. It works very rare. I don't think there's a whole lot of people doing what I do, but I don't get called every week. I don't get called every month by people who have paranormal problems in their house. I wish I did. I love doing my work. But I've kind of been pushing a little more into the realty angle and trying to look at realtors saying, this house didn't sell for, you're sitting on a house that hasn't sold for a year. What is wrong with this beautiful house that's priced properly? Why is nobody buying this house? And I've dealt with a lot of houses that sell that just turn around, because the people who live there or who left it there have a charge that the people looking at it feel, even unconsciously, and that makes them not feel comfortable with buying.
Yeah, I mean, it's worth it. It's absolutely worth a shot. If you're, like I said, sitting on a house that you don't understand why it's not selling. I mean, yeah, it's worth a shot to try something like that. I think.
Yeah, I
Talking to
send
you,
out stuff to realtors, or every once in a while. It's like, look, I've been watching this house for 6 months. It just lost $500,000 of value. You just lost, as a realtor, 10 times my fee,
Yeah,
because you didn't respond to this email. How bad is the risk? That kind of thing. But this is it's an odd business. It's a
yeah,
whole belief, the belief system, the verification, the whatever. I'm like, yeah, it is what it is. And
yeah. Well, if you send me a link to your website and just anything, send me whatever links you want to send when this goes to podcast. I'll be sure to include it.
great, just go to healinghouses.com, but I'll pop in an email to you as well. But
Okay.
I can't believe I didn't do that. Who is my publicist?
All right, buddy. You enjoy the rest of your day out in sunny California, and we'll talk soon.
Great, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Ciao, ciao.
All right. Interesting stuff.
Very interesting.
Who would have thought that that was an actual profession?
Yeah, I'd not ever heard of that.
Yeah, we didn't go into what he charges, and I don't know if he wanted that mentioned, but you and I talked about it, and we found what he charges. It's
Mhm.
not it's not astronomical by any means, but I should have asked him if he wanted to disclose it, but not having asked him, I won't disclose it. If
Right.
you want to
And it
know,
is
get
on the website.
yeah, it's on his website. All right. Again, if before we get out of here, guys, in case there's somebody in here that wasn't at the beginning, if you do anything for us this year, Christmas, birthday, whatever, if you want to help us out in any way, join the $1.99 membership on YouTube and help us to grow that little community of members so that we can get on here and just hang out, members only, and do some cool stuff.
It'll
Be
be
great.
it'll be super fun. I would love to just sit and chit chat with you guys.
And me and Tiffany were always talking about new cool stuff to do to offer you guys. We're talking about giveaways and stuff. But we have our regulars, and we love you guys. So appreciative of all your support and
Yes.
everything. And everybody that knows me, especially members of Manimal, my family. I hate to ask people for money. I cannot stand it. So me asking y'all to join the $1.99 is that's me going out on a limb. I don't like to ask for money. I don't,
Right.
but it's needed and we appreciate it.
Yes, absolutely.
All right. You got anything else?
I do not. Just
You
enjoy
gonna
the rest of your lovely day.
you gonna throw that pumpkin spice crap away?
I will never throw my pumpkin spice crap away.
All right.
Ever.
You go enjoy the rest of your day, ma'am.
Yeah, right.
All right. Y'all be good to yourselves, be good to each other, and we'll see you next time, next Tuesday. Bye.